Live with Kelly and Mark had never opened quite this way before. Prince Harry sat before the two hosts, and something about Kelly's initial warmth carried an edge he didn't immediately register. She called his appearance courageous, genuinely so, especially given the week he'd just had. Mark nodded along, that easy co-host energy filling the studio. Harry relaxed into it. This felt safe, familiar even. He was wrong, because Kelly Ripa had spent 25 years reading guests, disarming them with warmth before the real conversation began. And this particular week had handed her more material than any single live segment usually carried. A Buckingham Palace snub, a lost lawsuit, a family reunion that happened without half the family. Kelly started gently. Then she asked about Highgrove House. What Harry said made her expression shift. What Kelly said next, still warm, still smiling, but landing with precision 25 years in the making, would be clipped and replayed across every entertainment outlet by lunchtime. Because sometimes the most dangerous interviewer isn't the hostile one. It's the one who called you brave first. This is the interview that shocked everyone. Subscribe now, hit that notification bell, and let's see what happened. The live studio at 7 Hudson Square carried its usual bright morning energy. The audience buzzing, Kelly and Mark running through their pre-show banter. The atmosphere of a show that had defined daytime television chemistry for over 2 decades. Harry arrived without his usual full security contingent, just a single aide. He settled into the guest chair between them, offering handshakes that felt genuinely warmer than his usual practiced greeting. "Prince Harry! This is genuinely brave of you, coming on together like this." Harry's posture relaxed. "I appreciate that, Kelly. I mean it. Most guests want us one at a time so they can manage the conversation. You took both of us at once. That says something." "Let's start with the biggest news," Kelly said, maintaining her warm opening tone. "Yesterday, Highgrove House. You and the kids with your father. That's enormous. How did that actually feel?" "It was meaningful. Important for the children especially." "I'm sure it was. But here's what I'm curious about. Meghan wasn't there. The kids saw their grandfather for the first time in years, and their mother was 3,000 miles away. Why?" Harry's relaxed expression tightened slightly. "Security arrangements were complicated for the broader visit." "Complicated how?" "Because from what's being reported, the Home Office denied protection outside royal properties, and that's specifically why she and the kids initially weren't going to come at all. Then somehow the kids ended up at Highgrove without her. What actually happened there?" "There were logistical adjustments made." "Adjustments significant enough to get your children into the country, but not your wife? That seems like a strange logistics problem. Children's security assessments differ from adult ones." "Sure, but you're describing a scenario where the kids traveled internationally and met with the king, presumably with adequate protection, while their mother, an adult who's traveled to considerably more dangerous places, Colombia, Nigeria, the Middle East, stayed home. That's not adding up as pure security logic. You're simplifying a genuinely complex arrangement. Then help me understand the complexity. Because right now it just sounds like a mother missing her children's most significant family moment in years." "The Daily Mail case," Kelly continued, her tone still light but pointed. "You lost. Completely. The judge ruled there wasn't evidence of the illegal information gathering you and 6 others alleged. That's after years of pursuing this. What's your actual reaction to that?" "We disagree with the ruling." "Disagreeing is one thing. But you were the lead voice in that case. You testified that the coverage turned Meghan's life into torment, I believe was the word. Now you're potentially facing a share of £50 million in costs. Was this worth it?" "Accountability matters regardless of the outcome." "Accountability that resulted in you losing and owing money? That's not really accountability landing anywhere. That's an expensive statement that the court didn't agree with." Mark, sensing tension building, tried to soften. "I think what Harry's saying is the principle mattered to him." "I understand the principle. Kelly said, not breaking eye contact with Harry. I'm asking about the outcome. Principles that lose in court and cost £50 million are worth examining honestly. You're reducing years of legal work to a number. I'm citing the actual reported figure. If that number is wrong, correct me. If it's right, it seems like a significant consequence worth discussing rather than dismissing. Legal battles for accountability sometimes require sacrifice. Sacrifice of whose money, though? £50 million is a significant sacrifice for a principle that a judge specifically rejected as unsupported by evidence. Buckingham Palace, Kelly said, shifting but maintaining her directness. You accepted the invitation to stay in a royal residence. Then the palace apparently pulled it back at the last minute. Your team is blaming poor communication. The palace is blaming your team for responding late. What's the actual truth? My team responded appropriately within reasonable time. Reasonable according to your timeline, apparently not according to theirs. But here's what strikes me. You ended up not staying there anyway, then somehow you're at Highgrove with your father the very next day. That's a fast turnaround for a relationship that was reportedly this contentious just days earlier. Family relationships aren't always linear. No, but this specific sequence is a lot of whiplash in a single week. Snubbed from the palace, then welcomed to Highgrove. What actually changed in 48 hours? Perhaps cooler heads simply prevailed. Whose cooler heads? Because the palace's public explanation and your team's public explanation still don't match. Someone's not telling the full story. Which side is it? Harry's jaw tightened. I won't relitigate palace communications on this show. You don't have to relitigate everything. I'm asking for your version, since your spokesperson already gave one publicly. Does that version hold up? My spokesperson represents my position accurately. Then confirm it directly, here, now. Did your team respond on time or not? Harry said nothing. William, Kelly continued, direct as ever. No meeting planned during this entire trip. Why? Our relationship remains complicated. You're actually in the country. Your children are meeting their grandfather. And your brother is still completely off the table. What's actually keeping that door shut? These things require the right circumstances. You had the right circumstances yesterday, apparently, with your father. Why not extend even slightly toward your brother? Have you tried? Silence. That silence is fairly telling, Harry. You don't understand what's happened between us. I understand what's been reported extensively, largely because you and Meghan reported much of it yourselves. In the book, in the Netflix series, in various interviews. If you're now saying I don't understand, what's actually different from what you've already told the world? Not everything translates accurately through media coverage. Then correct the record right now. What's inaccurate about what's been reported regarding you and William? Another pause. I'd rather not go into specifics on this show. That's twice now you've had opportunity to clarify and chosen silence instead. That pattern is its own answer. Meghan and the divorce rumors, Kelly said, pushing forward. She's not here. She wasn't at Highgrove. She's not accompanying you on any of this trip. I know the security explanation, but combined with everything else being reported about your marriage, people are asking harder questions. What's your actual response? Our marriage is solid. Solid marriages don't usually involve the wife missing a historic reunion with the king, specifically because logistics couldn't be worked out for her, but somehow worked out for the children. That's a strange gap. You're reading too much into normal complications. I'm reading exactly what's been reported and asking you to clarify it. So far, you've given me nothing specific. My marriage doesn't require public justification. You've made your marriage extensively public. Documentaries, interviews, an entire Netflix series about your relationship. The justification standard you're invoking now is inconsistent with how you've operated for years. Selective sharing doesn't obligate complete disclosure. No, but it does make selective privacy look rather convenient when the questions get uncomfortable specifically. The surname question, Kelly said, shifting terrain. Reports say you're considering changing the children's name to Spencer because of passport delays. Is that real? I won't comment on speculation. It's not just speculation. There's documented reporting about passport delays specifically causing this consideration. Given you were just at Highgrove as a Sussex, staying under your father's name, is walking away from that name something you're seriously weighing? Administrative matters require creative solutions sometimes. That's not actually an answer, Harry. Are you considering it or not? I haven't made any final decisions. That's closer to an answer, but it still confirms it's genuinely being considered. That's significant. Choosing your mother's name over your father's, right after visiting your father. That timing alone is worth sitting with. The timing has nothing to do with any specific message. Timing rarely needs to carry a deliberate message to still say something. Sometimes the coincidence itself tells the story. Let me ask about your father directly, Kelly continued, her tone softening slightly but the point remaining sharp. Beyond the photo opportunity at Highgrove, have you actually had a real conversation with him? About the years apart? About what was said publicly? We're taking things step by step. Step by step after how many years of estrangement? Genuine reconciliation usually involves actual acknowledgement of what was said, what was felt, what needs repair. Did that happen yesterday, or was it primarily photographs and pleasantries? That's an intensely private matter. You've written a book detailing private matters. You've done documentaries showing private moments. The privacy standard keeps appearing exactly when specifics might complicate the narrative you're presenting. Not everything needs public dissection. I agree, actually. But you chose this platform, this conversation, this appearance. The dissection you're objecting to is happening because you're here, participating in exactly the kind of conversation you're now calling inappropriate. You're being deliberately difficult, Harry said, his composure cracking. I'm being deliberately specific, because vague answers about a week this newsworthy don't really hold up. I called your appearance brave, because showing up here does take something. But bravery in showing up isn't the same as bravery in actually answering. Every question has felt like an attack. Every question has been about documented events from this exact week. The Highgrove visit, the lawsuit, Meghan's absence, William's absence. Those aren't invented, they're literally what's been reported since Friday. I expected support from you two specifically, Harry said, standing up slightly. Mark tried once more. Harry, I think Kelly's just trying to understand. I understand you're uncomfortable, Kelly said, cutting through gently but firmly. But support doesn't mean accepting vague non-answers about your own well-documented week. In 25 years on this show, I've had guests handle much harder scrutiny than this. This has become hostile. This has become honest, which apparently feels the same to you right now. You promised warmth. I offered warmth. I never promised avoiding questions. Those are different promises, and I think you conflated them when you agreed to come on. I won't sit here and be treated this way, Harry said, grabbing his jacket. That's your choice, Kelly said, her tone remaining warm but unwavering. But walking away doesn't change what happened this week. Meghan still wasn't at Highgrove. The lawsuit still failed. William still isn't meeting you. Those facts exist whether you're sitting here or not. Harry moved toward the exit. You called this brave initially. It was brave to show up. It's not brave to leave the moment the actual questions arrive. Those are different things, Harry, and you're proving the gap between them right now, on camera, for everyone watching. Harry paused at the studio door. This isn't over. It actually is, for our purposes today, Kelly said, calm and composed. But the questions remain regardless. Why wasn't Meghan there? What's actually happening with William? What happened with the surname? Those don't disappear because you walked out. Harry left. The studio door closed behind him. The audience sat in stunned silence. Mark turned to Kelly, visibly shaken. That escalated faster than I expected. It escalated exactly as fast as it needed to, Kelly said, her tone shifting to something more reflective. 25 years on this show. I've had difficult guests. I've had nervous guests. I don't think I've ever had someone unable to answer basic questions about their own week. She turned to the camera. I want to be honest about what just happened, Kelly said. I called his appearance brave because I genuinely meant it. Showing up here, together, after a week like the one he's had, does take something. But bravery in the booking doesn't excuse avoiding every actual question once you're here. She paused. Meghan wasn't at what should have been an incredibly meaningful reunion with the king. The lawsuit he pursued for years just collapsed, expensively. His brother still won't see him. Those aren't gotcha topics. They're literally this week's news. And he couldn't engage with any of it honestly. Mark added, I tried to give him room, genuinely. But every question was fair. They were, Kelly said. 25 years, Mark. I know the difference between hostile and honest. Today was honest. Here's what actually troubles me, Kelly continued, her voice growing more reflective. This was supposed to be a good week for him. His children finally met their grandfather. That's genuinely wonderful news. But even wonderful news arrived with contradictions attached. Why wasn't his wife there? Why is his brother still absent? Why is a £50 million legal loss just sitting there unaddressed? She shook her head slightly. I don't think I was harsh. I think I asked what any thoughtful person watching this week's headlines would want to ask. And the fact that those questions ended the conversation says something worth sitting with. Mark nodded slowly. It's strange, honestly. He had genuinely good news to share. He could have talked about the kids meeting their grandfather all segment. Instead, every follow-up question seemed to unravel something. That's exactly it, Kelly said. Good news doesn't usually unravel under basic follow-up. When it does, that tells you the good news wasn't the complete story. The footage aired that morning. ABC made no edits. The clips that spread captured the collision. Adjustments significant enough to get your children into the country but not your wife? Principles that lose in court and cost £50 million are worth examining honestly. That silence is fairly telling, Harry. That's not actually an answer, Harry. I offered warmth. I never promised avoiding questions. It's not brave to leave the moment the actual questions arrive. Harry's team released a statement calling the interview an ambush from hosts who promised warmth but delivered hostility. Kelly addressed it the next day. Ambush implies deception. Every question I asked was about documented events from that exact week. Highgrove, the lawsuit, Meghan's absence. I called him brave because I meant it. What followed wasn't hostility. It was just questions he couldn't answer. She added, 25 years of this show. I know the difference between attacking someone and asking someone to explain their own week. What happened Wednesday was the latter, regardless of how it felt to him in the moment. For Kelly Ripa, the interview became another demonstration of what 25 years reading guests had built, the ability to open with genuine warmth and still arrive at genuine accountability when the moment called for it. For Prince Harry, it was uniquely damaging precisely because he'd trusted the warmth, relaxed into it, then discovered the conversation building toward exactly the week's hardest questions. Questions he hadn't prepared to answer, because he'd assumed the friendliness meant they wouldn't be asked. Kelly called him brave. Harry believed it meant safety. Kelly asked about Highgrove. Harry couldn't explain Meghan's absence. Kelly asked about the lawsuit. Harry couldn't defend the outcome. Kelly asked about William. Harry offered only silence before walking out entirely. And in that walkout, in that inability to sustain even a conversation that began with genuine warmth, everything anyone needed to know about the gap between a good news week and the questions still attached to it became impossible to ignore. That's the whole story. Called brave for showing up together. Couldn't survive 20 minutes once the week's actual news came up. What does that tell you about the difference between courage and comfort? If you want more content that recognizes when warmth reveals what hostility couldn't, subscribe, turn on notifications, drop a like. More honesty, more clarity, more of what 25 years of daytime television teaches you about separating comfort from truth. Stay with us.